Zoomer Radio, AM 740, 96.7 FM in downtown Toronto. It's the Happy Gang. Robbie Lane in for Neil Headley, and our special guest, Andy Kim, is here. And, of course, that was him. You just heard Rock Me Gently. Andy, Jane and I we've been pumping you full of questions since you got here. And Jane was asking what you're doing at this particular time, and you mentioned to Jane about the writing that you're doing right now. So tell us maybe a little more about that.
Well, I'm excited because, I write all the time, but it's never for a deadline or kind of specific. And I think I get better when there's a deadline. And so I'm going to go in the studio and start recording in the next couple of 3 months. And so I stay up late at night and keep writing and trying to find those songs that, as you were saying, Robbie, if they sound as great or you're as excited 2 days later, then you have something. And so that's pretty insightful on your end, and it's really what I'm going through right now.
That's kind of like when you go shopping, and if you really like something and you're still thinking about it 2 days later, you should go buy it.
You should buy it. Yes, there you go. That's the truth.
That's what happened to me lately. I bought some Spanx, and they just didn't quite fit.
Oh. Did you get your money back?
Well, they don't return Spanx.
And for good reason.
Yeah, for good reason. Well, I want to get into a time in your life when, and I don't know whether I'm making this up, but I've mentioned it a couple of times on the air, where Andy Kim changed his name and became Baron Longfellow. And you correct me if I'm wrong, but this was a time, I believe, in your career where you'd had just a ton of hits, which we've played most of this morning. And there was a time where Andy Kim records were coming out, but the music directors or whoever, they weren't getting the airplay that they should have. And I'm just assuming this, which is a bad thing to do, but I'm wondering if you changed your name so that people might give it a shot because it's not Andy Kim.
Well,
come on, answer the question.
Well, first of all, the name change came when a manager asked if I were, since I didn't have a manager at the time, he was interested in managing me. And he had 3 male artists that he had managed. One of them was Tom Woodward. He changed his name to Tom Jones. Mm-hmm. The other was Jerry Dorsey. He changed his name to Engelbert Humperdinck. And Raymond Sullivan, who babysat his kids, became Gilbert O'Sullivan. And I was writing songs that were just kind of a little different from the songs that I had as hits. Someone had played him a couple of my demos, and he really liked them, so I got together with him. And he had just fallen out of his relationship with Humperdinck. And look, at that time, I think as I'm getting older, I'm getting shorter, but I was 6'2", and kind of had a certain look, and he just thought that I looked more like a Baron Longfellow than I did an Andy Kim. And I had no idea what he was talking about, because we were playing pool one day at his beautiful Holmby Hills palace, and he called me Baron, and I kept playing, and he said, you're Baron Longfellow. And it took me a while. I went around and I asked friends and songwriter friends, and Barry Mann. You're familiar with Barry Mann?
Yes.
You've Lost a Loving Feeling, him and Cynthia, etc. So I had asked him, I said, he said, I don't know, man. He said, you change your name, you're not going to be seated at the great tables in the restaurants when you call and you say, hey, it's Baron Longfellow calling. So you got to take that into consideration. As he laughed and he thought it was a bad idea. But I really believe that Gordon wanted to do something. I was going to be on the same label as Tom Jones, and because he owned that label. And it didn't work out because he got ill and stopped, being a manager and things. And so I just thought I would try, and yeah, it was an unsuccessful try on my part, because every time someone played a Baron Longfellow record, they'd say, but you really know that's Andy Kim. So
right.
it was just like,
Yeah,
what's the
right.
purpose?
Yeah.
Yes, the artist also known as Andy Kim.
Correct. So, but it was an interesting transition for me, and I'm always looking to not repeat myself. I'm trying to. You write one Sugar Sugar, and you're not going to write. You write Jingle Jangle, but it's not Sugar Sugar. And
Yeah. Although that went to #1 as well.
that was a million seller, which was really interesting. But people kept on playing Sugar Sugar, and that's what people remember. And so that Barron and Longfellow time is come and gone, and here I am.
Well, we'd like to reach back and embarrass, if at all possible. But, I have to say about Sugar Sugar, I did a show with you at the Sony Center for a fundraiser a couple of years ago. And you came out and did a few of your hits. When you did Sugar Sugar, the entire audience sang with you. And I love that because generationally there were kids, there were people, grandparents, there were parents. Everybody knows that song.
It's really amazing, and it's great because I start singing it, and everyone else finishes the song, and I don't have to sing anymore.
Yeah, it takes the pressure off.
It's so joyful for me to know that I'm a part of something that makes people feel good. I think that's really the cool thing.
Yeah,
well, and it's great that you embrace it too, because you know how you think about actors who were child stars and they want to evolve beyond that, and they want to be thought of in a different way. I think it's always best to embrace everything that you've been, and in any way possible.
I thank God for the gifts that He's given me, and I always think about, the adjectives should be lucky and blessed, Andy Kim. I mean, that's how I look at it, always.
That's really nice. And you make people happy and feel good with Sugar Sugar and other songs. Jane Brown, on the other hand, if we play James Brown's Funky Chicken, she dances.
Well, that's just, they go part and parcel.
They do.
It's just the way it is.
It is. We're not playing that this morning, though, Jane.
Because James Brown isn't here.
That's right.
Okay.
And not likely will be in the future.
No, not likely.
Well, we talked about Barron Longfellow, and there was some success, for sure. And this was one of them. So let's play it. Andy Kim, for a while, was Barron Longfellow. And he is royalty when it comes to the Canadian recording industry and the world. It's Barron Longfellow on Zoomer Radio.